Kotzebue people, a big source of our wood was driftwood. And you'd use them to build any kind of structure, your fish drying racks. You can see here, this is my kayak that I built about 3 years ago. What did people use, before we could go to Ace Hardware Napa and pick up all the woods? Because that's where most of the wood for this one came from. My project is studying wood and uses of wood in traditional cultures, using, for example, birchwood to build sleds, things like that. So I started asking different elders and seeing the thing that built the best, they would use birch for upriver. And birch is a hardwood. It doesn't grow down here. In fact, it doesn't even show up on our beaches. You might get a little birch bark on our beaches, but the problem with birch as a driftwood is because the birch bark is waterproof. So once it goes in the river and gets soaked, that wood stays soaked because it's surrounded by this waterproof outer shell. So then it just rots. So especially for sleds like the runners, you want a long piece of birch. People would use it to build sleds, mostly the runners, and that would be a major trade item, would be the birch from upriver. All the different things they built, they generally didn't use just one wood. The other main wood they used around here was, of course, the white spruce, Picea glauca, or Iñupiat. And here's a root I have here. The roots, they're really dense. They're holding up a whole tree, so they're hard. It's a hard wood. It's a dense wood, and it's a kind of impenetrable to water. It doesn't let the water through because it's growing up in water. So it's a good wood for a lot of things. They also, when I talked to a couple of elders who visited, they talked about the front of the Iñupiat was made out of. They would look for one with the right bend, and then they would take that and then shape it the right way for the front.
My brother and I go and look for long ones that are shaped like that, and set them aside, and he uses them for the front and back of the boat, whaling boats.
The thing they really like about the birch is it bends, like for sled runners, and it keeps its shape. Whereas spruce, if you took a tall spruce, you can bend it, but it doesn't keep its shape as well, and it's a softer wood. But I was thinking I've got little ribs in here, if you kind of look, it's got ribs all the way down, and each one of these had to be bent. That's where we use cedar, I think yellow cedar, to bend those. But in the old days, I'm sure that would have been the birch, because you'd get a good bend and it'd stay bent. The gunwales you could probably do with either one, because it's not a hard bend. You can force it to bend that way. But so, yeah, basically I guess my point is they use both woods kind of together for what they were good for. And if you wanted to substitute alder, especially for these little ribs, probably could be used, other things, whatever you had on hand. But the most prized boats were made out of birch.
We use different kinds of driftwood for different things around the house, Some logs, the skinny logs for racks to dry fish and meat. And I use the roots because they're nice and hard and don't dry up. And the spruce trees are good because it's got a natural bend on it and it's already got the curve for the front of the boat. The one that's in the ground we're usually up on top, and where it comes out straight is the tree, and then the root comes down. That's what we use for the sled on the runners and for the bows of the boat a long time ago. I use alder wood for smoking fish, but I take the bark off first, because the bark gives it a different smell. I like to dry it up a little bit if I can, if I have time. If I don't, I just take the bark off and use the wood to smoke fish, meat fish. My grandfather, when he would teach me, he said the best kind of wood to use is birch. It's easy to bend and stay bent for as long as you want it to. Kayaks, sleds, bows, bow and arrows. You have to go upriver to get it. Don't have any birchwood down here at the beach. That's another thing. The traders a long time ago thousand years ago they traded birch and
So you can steam birch and bend it, and it'll keep its bend, just like hickory or oak. So a lot of sledges were built with birch, but you couldn't do that with spruce. It just breaks. But spruce was used, you know, a lot of time for the stanchions and parts of the sled, but the bending parts were basically out of birch. The tree itself is really waterlogged on the half side of it, the south side of it, the warm side of it. So that's what you cut off, and they used to put it on it. And I seen my dad go home. Not only my dad, did all the teams who were hunting up north. You know, they went home like that. They just put them on and put notches and tie it on their runners. The woolens had to be special. They grow in some parts of the by the river. They're long, with no branches or something. They're really straight up, and you cut them and split them in half, and you know, bend them for parts of the kayak. So the woolens had to be special. It couldn't be just any wool you can get out of the wood.